Something big is brewing in Las Vegas. The kind of news that makes every Raiders fan sit up and pay attention. Because just when things were starting to look promising, a major concern has suddenly appeared, and it's centered around one of their most exciting young stars, tight end Brock Bowers. Before listening to the latest news, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss any Raiders updates. Let's move on to the new news. The Las Vegas Raiders are gearing up for a massive showdown against the Indianapolis Colts, and the stakes couldn't be higher. But before the game even kicks off, there's a cloud of concern hovering over the team. Reports are coming in that Brock Bowers' injury might be more serious than anyone first believed. Now, despite the uncertainty, there's still optimism surrounding this matchup. On paper, the Raiders actually match up well against the Colts. If the offense can finally find its rhythm, something that's been missing in key moments, this could be the game that flips their momentum. The Colts have been thriving largely because of their dominant run game, which has taken a lot of pressure off their quarterback. But here's where it gets interesting: the Raiders' run defense has quietly become one of the best in the league. That could be the key difference that gives Las Vegas a real shot to pull off a statement win. Still, the question hanging over everything is Brock Bowers' health. He didn't practice for 2 straight days after working out on Wednesday. The team says it's just rest, trying to make sure he's ready for Sunday, but his comments tell another story. Bowers admitted that he's been frustrated dealing with his knee issue. He said he wants to get back to full speed, to separate from defenders and play like himself again, but right now, he simply can't do that at his best level. Hearing that from a player like Bowers is concerning, because it shows that even if he suits up, he might not be at 100%. And that could change everything about how this game unfolds, but that's not the only injury news shaking up the Raiders this week, and what's coming next might surprise you even more. Brock Bowers himself admitted that his knee still isn't right. He said he wants to be able to explode off the line, create separation, and beat defenders, but right now, his body just won't let him. That's a serious red flag for a player whose entire game depends on quickness and agility. And honestly, it's frustrating. When he first got hurt in week 1, it might have been smarter to give him a few weeks to heal completely instead of pushing him to play at 60%. The Raiders haven't won those early games anyway, so what difference would it have made if he had taken time off to recover properly? At least by now, he'd be close to full strength. But that didn't happen. The team's approach seems questionable. Instead of protecting their young star, they've kept him active, even though it's obvious he's far from healthy. Today, he openly said he can't separate because of the injury, which makes it clear this is more serious than the team has been letting on. Maybe he'll get better after the bye week, but right now, he's clearly playing through pain. And that brings up a bigger issue: how the Raiders are managing injuries overall. From the Brock Bowers situation to the confusion around their quarterback group, it feels like the coaching decisions are raising more questions than answers. Head coach Pete Hero seems to be mishandling key situations from the start. Whether it's how he dealt with Bowers' recovery, the JPJ issue, or the uncertain direction at quarterback, something just doesn't add up. And with tough opponents like the Chiefs coming up soon, those cracks could start to show fast. When you look at the film, the evidence is right there. Bowers isn't moving like himself, he's running fewer routes, seeing fewer snaps, and even backup tight end Ian Thomas has been more visible on certain plays. That tells you everything about where Bowers really is right now. But the bigger question is, if Brock Bowers isn't 100%, what does that mean for the Raiders' offense heading into the Colts game? The answer might surprise you. When you look closely at recent plays, like Ashton Gentry's touchdown or Raheem Mostert's long run, there's a clear pattern. Ian Thomas, not Brock Bowers, was the tight end on both of those snaps. That alone tells you a lot about Bowers' condition. He's not himself, and the coaches know it. Still, they keep sending him out there. And that's the part that just doesn't make sense. Why risk your young star when he's clearly not healthy? Giving him 2 or 3 weeks off could let him return fully recovered after the bye. Instead, they're pushing him to play at half speed, and that's a dangerous game. Of course, the Raiders want to win. They'd love to head into the bye week at 3-3, or even 2-4, but at what cost? When your best offensive weapon is limping through pain, you're not just risking games, you're risking his future. Hearing Bowers admit that he can't separate right now is alarming, and it should have been enough for the staff to pull him back. But clearly, they're thinking short-term instead of long-term. And as if that wasn't enough, there's another tough blow for the Raiders. Linebacker Jermaine Pratt won't be traveling with the team to Indianapolis. Reports confirm it's not injury-related, which raises even more questions. Is it personal? Is he stepping away? We don't know yet, but either way, losing him is a big deal. Pratt has quietly been one of the most reliable players on defense, especially in pass coverage, something the Raiders desperately need. Without him, the team will have to lean more on guys like Tommy Eichenberg or Landon Roberts, but neither brings the same consistency in coverage. That could become a problem against a team like the Colts, who love exploiting mismatches over the middle. If there's one small silver lining, it's that the Raiders might be forced to play more nickel defense instead of their heavy base sets, which could help them adjust to the Colts' speed. Still, losing Pratt right now is a major setback for a defense that's just starting to find its rhythm, but the biggest concern isn't just who's missing, it's how these losses might completely change the Raiders' game plan heading into Sunday. Now that we've gone through some of the major headlines, let's take a closer look at the latest injury report, and there's a lot to unpack. The Raiders have several key names listed as questionable, while the Colts will be missing a few important starters. Starting with the Raiders, Brock Bowers remains questionable. He missed both Thursday and Friday's practices, though the team expects him to suit up. Still, given how limited he's been, this could be the last game he plays before finally taking a much-needed few weeks off. Michael Mayer is also listed as questionable while recovering from a concussion. If Mayer can't go this week, the Raiders may have to rely on a banged-up Bowers one more time before hopefully switching roles next week, letting Mayer take over as Bowers rests. In the secondary, Eric Stokes was limited all week with a knee issue but is expected to play. And that's important, because Stokes has quietly been the team's best corner lately. His presence could make all the difference. On the other hand, Kyu Kelly has struggled and was even benched recently. If his performance doesn't improve, the Raiders might be forced to rotate in Cameron Richardson, though he's also been dealing with a hamstring concern. So overall, the Raiders are banged up, but not broken. Their roster is in better shape than it has been in recent weeks. The Colts, however, are facing bigger problems. They'll be missing 5 players this week, including a few big names on defense. Cornerback Xavier Howard has stepped away from the team, and Kenny Moore is out with an Achilles injury. Losing both corners could open up major opportunities for the Raiders receivers to make plays downfield. Wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr., one of the Colts' top offensive weapons, was questionable earlier in the week but has been cleared and will play. That's a challenge the Raiders' secondary must prepare for. With both teams battling through injuries, this game could come down to which defense holds stronger, and for once, the Raiders might actually have the upper hand, because when you look deeper into the matchup between the Colts offense and the Raiders defense, the numbers tell a story that might surprise every NFL fan watching. That I've watched a lot of Colts film this season, and one thing is clear, their offensive line is no joke. It's one of the best units in the entire league. With Bernhard Raimann at left tackle, Quentin Nelson anchoring the left guard spot, and Braden Smith holding down right tackle, this group plays with power, chemistry, and precision. Even their backups step in and perform at a high level. And behind that line, the dangerous Jonathan Taylor, the NFL's leading rusher right now. He's been explosive, decisive, and flat-out dominant. Combine that kind of running back with an elite offensive line, and you get one of the toughest ground attacks in football. That's the Colts' identity, they control games through the run. But here's where the story flips, the Raiders' defense might actually be built to stop exactly that. Statistically, they've been one of the top units against the run this season. Sure, a few big plays have skewed the numbers, but take those away, and Las Vegas sits among the best 2 or 3 run defenses in the league. A huge reason for that success: their commitment to the cover 3 scheme. It lets them load the box, bring a safety down, and close running lanes fast. Against a team like the Colts, who thrive on early down runs, that could be the perfect weapon. If the Raiders can force Indianapolis into 2nd and long or 3rd and 8 situations, the advantage suddenly shifts. Because while the Colts' offense looks good when it's balanced, their quarterback, Daniel Jones, is still inconsistent when forced to throw. He's dangerous on the move, but if you contain him and make him win through the air, that's where cracks start to show. And that's exactly the type of situation the Raiders' defense wants. Stop the run early, force Jones into passing downs, and let your pass rush eat, but the real key lies in how the Raiders handle those third down moments, because one small mistake there could decide the entire game. You look at the Colts' offense, and sure, they're solid. But let's be honest, they don't exactly have elite playmakers on the outside. Michael Pittman Jr. He's a reliable target, physical, dependable, but not the kind of receiver that keeps defensive coordinators up at night. Now, their tight end Tyler Warren, that's a different story. That kid is special. He's not Brock Bowers level dominant yet, but the talent, the versatility, and the confidence. It's all there. He could be one of the league's next great tight ends. Still, this all comes back to one thing: if the Raiders shut down the run, they control the game. Because when the Colts can't get Jonathan Taylor rolling, everything else starts to fall apart. Their play action loses bite, their rhythm collapses, and Daniel Jones is forced to beat you with his arm, and let's be real, that's exactly what you want as a defense. The Colts' record looks nice at 3-1, but let's keep that in perspective. They've faced defenses that couldn't stop the run if their season depended on it. Once that run game gets going, their playbook opens wide. But against a Raiders front that's been disciplined and physical against the run, that's a different test altogether. Statistically, the Colts rank second in overall success rate, but just 14th in explosive plays, and that tells you a lot. They can move the chains, but they're not blowing defenses apart. Their biggest sparks come from Taylor breaking one loose, not from deep shots or quarterback heroics. And that's where the Raiders can steal momentum. If they limit those ground gains early, keep everything in front of them, and make Jones play from behind the sticks, they win those third downs. But let's flip it. For the Raiders to walk out with a win, the offense has to show up. The defense can only carry so much weight. Geno Smith needs to protect the football, make smart reads, and, for once this season, be the difference maker. No more waiting for the defense to save the day. This game is the moment for the offense to step up, to prove it can finish drives, execute under pressure, and finally deliver that statement win. Every single game so far, the defense has given us a chance. That's the truth. They've kept us in it, they've given us opportunities to steal wins. But the offense? It hasn't delivered one yet. Last week, though, we finally saw a spark. Ashton Gentry started to find some rhythm, that burst, that balance. It showed flashes of what this offense can be. And yeah, I get it, we're sitting at 1-3. But let's be real, this team could easily be 2-2 if just one or two plays had gone differently. Think about that missed block on the field goal unit. Michael Myers' injury threw off the protection, Jonah Laulu steps in as the backup wing, and suddenly that 54-yard attempt gets tipped. Daniel Carlson nails that kick 99% of the time. That one play changed everything. So no, this team isn't as bad as the record says. There's fight here. There's progress that doesn't show up in the standings. Now it's time for the offense to finally cash in. Because this game, this moment, it's on them. The Raiders are built to be explosive. That's who they are. Big plays, quick strikes, they can flip the field in seconds. They might not grind out 10-play drives like the Colts, but when they hit hard. And even with Geno Smith struggling at times, this offense still ranks top 10 in passing yards. Top 15 in rushing. So the talent is there. The problem? Turnovers. 7 interceptions. 8 total giveaways. That's what's killing drives, that's what's burying momentum. If Geno can protect the football, just play clean, efficient football, the Raiders can beat this team. Because the Colts defense? It's not dominant. They bend, they give up yards, they just survive off turnovers. Yes, they've got some dangerous pieces, Kwity Paye off the edge, DeForest Buckner anchoring the middle, but beyond that? There are cracks. Holes that can be attacked if the Raiders stay disciplined. This game isn't about a miracle comeback or some wild highlight reel moment. It's about execution. Clean football. letting the defense do what it's done all season, and giving the offense the chance to finally finish. Because if the Raiders play their brand of football, fast, fearless, and focused, this could be the game that flips the story. When you really look at this Colts defense, it's hard to call it elite. Latu might have been a first-round pick, but he hasn't played like a dominant pass rusher yet. The flashes are there, but the consistency isn't. And beyond that, there just isn't a lot that truly scares you. Cam Bynum's a solid safety, smart, dependable, but the rest of that secondary feels vulnerable. Charvarius Ward isn't the same player he once was. He's experienced, sure, but the burst, the timing, it's not quite there anymore. Guys like Nick Cross and Jalen Jones, they're serviceable, not shut down. That's why I believe the Raiders can absolutely move the football in this matchup. The Colts defense gives up big plays. They bend, they leak yardage, and they've been exposed in chunks throughout the season. The only thing saving them has been takeaways, a few timely interceptions, a couple of fumbles. So, for the Raiders, the formula is simple: play smart, stay clean, and protect the football. If Geno Smith can lead this offense to 24 or 28 points, that's the window. Because if the defense can force even one key turnover, that could be the difference maker. Think about it, the Raiders put up signs of life against Chicago. The offense had rhythm, confidence, and energy that we hadn't seen since week 1. That's progress. It's not perfect, but it's something to build on. And heading into this matchup against the Colts, that small spark could turn into something real. Because when you break it down, the Raiders aren't as bad as their record shows, and the Colts? They might not be as good as theirs. This game comes down to two things: stopping the run and protecting the football. If the Raiders keep Jonathan Taylor under control and Geno Smith stays composed, this is a winnable game. And honestly, this could be the moment that flips the Raiders' season around, if they just seize it.